Nintendo says it is moving some of its production out of China, meanwhile, while the most recent proposed tariffs on Chinese imports could result in a Bible shortage in the United States. Apparently, the Bibles here in the U.S. are made in China. Joining us right now is the former U.S. Secretary of Commerce under President George W. Bush. He is Secretary Carlos Gutierrez. Mr. Secretary, it's always a pleasure to see you. Thanks so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you.
First, let me get your reaction on the China dispute. What do you want to see in terms of a potential deal, in terms of the U.S.'s pushback on some of China's behavior?
Well, I think we have to get to a deal eventually, and I don't think it's going to be the perfect deal. I don't think it will be the only deal. We're going to be dealing with China for a lot of years, and this whole notion of once and for all, let's take care of China, I think is a bit unrealistic. We're currently stuck. The U.S. would like China to put some of the changes into their law. They're not willing to do that. And China has really gone public with this with the trade war. People in China are hearing about it every day. There are national songs about the trade war. That tells me that China is willing to stick it out. And of course, the president is up against an election. So I think that's going to gear where we go. But look, we're far away. The two parts are far away, and it doesn't seem like there's something obvious in the works. So both sides are going to have to compromise. Yeah. It's going to be a compromise deal.
But should the U.S. be pushing back if the Chinese will refuse to make theft against the law in China? I mean, so, you know, the last time we were looking at a deal that both sides were agreeing to was back in April. And at that time, the U.S. said to China, we need to make sure you stop stealing intellectual property from the U.S. And then in the 11th hour, they refused to put that into law.
Yeah, I think it was the fact that we were asking China to change their law. And that was the part where they thought it went a little bit too far. I think we can negotiate a deal. You know, Maria, technologies, these new digital technologies are maybe 10, 15 years old.
Yeah.
This is brand new. 10 years from now, we don't even know what's going to be hitting us. Regrettably, what we should be doing is getting Europe, China, Japan, the U.S. together and figuring out how we're going to manage technology globally. Everyone is splintering into their own little regulations.
Yeah.
So we're going to have a splintered global technology industry that is less than ideal.
Look, I want to ask you about USMCA and NAFTA, given your experience there. But first, you were the Commerce Secretary, and I got to ask you first about this census citizenship question. Attorney General William Barr said yesterday that he believes it can be legally added, even though the Supreme Court ruled against it. Watch this.
We've been considering all the options, and I've been in constant discussions with the president ever since the Supreme Court decision came down. And I think over the next day or two, you'll see what approach we're taking. And I think it does provide a pathway for getting the question on the census.
How do you see this?
Well, you know, on one hand, there is the political aspect of asking people for their citizenship, and that has become an issue. I would look at it from the effectiveness of the census. The census relies first and foremost on that first response. And if people are afraid to respond, if people have a green card but they're not citizens, they may be reluctant to put that down on paper. So the response will be a lot lower, and we will have a less than accurate census. That's the big problem.
I mean, wouldn't it seem natural to ask if you're a citizen on the census? Isn't that one of the points of the census, to make sure we understand how many Americans how many citizens are here?
I see what you mean, and you know, on the surface, it seems logical.
Yeah, it just seems logical. I don't understand the big stink over it.
We're in the middle of a very politicized immigration environment.
Right.
And that's why it's a big issue, because we have politicized immigration, because we have politicized the whole issue of immigrants. So we are in a very divided society right now, and immigration is a real problem. So
well, who's politicizing it, though, Secretary? I mean, there is a border crisis, right? The Department of Homeland Security is asking the Pentagon to authorize 1,000 additional Texas National Guard troops to help at the border. Vice President Mike Pence is going to be visiting the southern border on Friday. We were there. We took the whole show there about a month and a half ago. What I saw was stunning. all these kids coming across the border. We don't even know if they're with their parents or if they're with strangers that paid for the kids. And I met these two, an 8-year-old and a 10-year-old. They were alone. They walked right over the Rio Grande because there was no water in it. Right behind me, you can see there, from Juarez, Mexico. So what are we going to do about this? These asylum standards, the loopholes that are encouraging loads of people to come. We're talking about 1 million apprehensions this year, probably.
Yeah, Maria, we will not fix immigration until we change the laws. We're talking about refugees and asylum. That's kind of a separate story. But the real issue with immigrants is that we need immigrants to grow our economy. And the only way the private sector can get enough immigrants in jobs that they need, whether it be high-skilled or low-skilled, is if we change the law. Today, they can't get the workers they need, so the only way to get them is to hire illegally or shut down the business. That's the part that frustrates me.
Yeah.
A wall is not going to fix that.
I understand what you're saying. Yeah, especially since we've got more job opportunities than we actually have people.
There are about 5 million empty jobs, vacant jobs.
Well, unemployment's at a 51-year low. Mr. Secretary, do you think USMCA is going to pass? Nancy Pelosi still hasn't said a word about whether or not she's going to bring it to the floor. This is going to be an important piece of legislation.
I think a lot will depend on, this kind of game of chicken that's going on. If the president withdraws NAFTA, then I don't think Congress would want, or the House would want it on them that we're out of a trade agreement with Canada and Mexico. There will be some comments. There will be some issues. They'll want to have some side letters. But it's just hard to imagine, even in this day and age, that we would walk away from this incredible trade agreement, which has been wonderful for 3 countries. And, the change between USMCA and NAFTA, yeah, there's some changes, but it's not like it's a brand new agreement.
Well, wonderful for 3 countries, except that so many U.S. companies decided to set up shop in Mexico, have production there, and then pay workers at a fraction of what they were having to pay them in America.
That's true, and that's kind of the way that that economic history has folded for the last 500 years. We need retraining. We're focused on jobs, not workers. We should be focused on retraining our workers and not bringing back jobs.
That's a fair point. Secretary, it's good to see you this morning. Thanks so much.
Thank you.
Secretary Gutierrez joining us there.